Breaking news. Brexit sweeps the nation. Across the country, headlines scream of regret and second thoughts. The word Brexit is no longer just a political term, it's become a symbol of national uncertainty, and the sense of unease is palpable in every corner of the UK. Recent opinion polls reveal a dramatic shift in public mood. For the first time since the 2016 referendum, a clear majority now say they would support rejoining the single market, or even the European Union itself. On city streets, in online forums and in living rooms, people are openly questioning whether leaving was the right choice. In Downing Street, the government is scrambling to respond as the economy stumbles. Ministers hold crisis meetings searching for solutions as the pound wobbles and headlines warn of recession. The pressure is mounting and the old certainties are crumbling. The Brexit debate, once thought settled, is back with a vengeance. Parliament is once again a battleground, with fierce arguments erupting between those who want to stick to the original plan and those who demand a new direction. The country is divided, and the wounds of the past have reopened. The promised post-Brexit boom never arrived. Instead of prosperity, many towns face empty shops and stalled projects. Hopes of a golden era have faded, replaced by a growing sense of disappointment. While Europe's economies surge ahead, Britain faces sluggish growth and mounting challenges. The contrast is stark. Across the Channel, cities are bustling, while at home, progress feels painfully slow. Every trip to the supermarket is a reminder of rising costs. Shoppers wince at price tags and families are forced to make tough choices as their budgets are squeezed tighter than ever before. Businesses, large and small, are struggling with new trade barriers. Paperwork piles up, delays at borders are now routine, and many entrepreneurs wonder how much longer they can hold on. The political class is caught in the crossfire, torn between die-hard Brexiteers who refuse to back down, and a growing chorus of voices demanding a rethink. The pressure is intense, and compromise seems elusive. Even the architects of Brexit, once triumphant, are now forced to confront the fallout. In interviews and press conferences, they look less certain, as the consequences of their decisions become impossible to ignore. The unthinkable is now being discussed openly. Should Britain go back? In cafes, on talk shows, and in the press, the idea of returning to Brussels is no longer taboo. It's a question on everyone's lips, but this is about more than economics. It's an identity crisis. A nation wrestling with its place in the world, and what it truly means to be British in a changing Europe. The grand vision of global Britain now feels more like isolation. Once busy ports and airports are quieter, and the sense of being cut off from the world is hard to ignore. The debate is everywhere, on buses, in pubs, around dinner tables. No one is untouched, and everyone has an opinion. The real question now is simple, yet profound. What do we do next? As the nation stands at a crossroads, the answer will shape Britain's future for generations to come. Let's rewind to 2016, a year that would change the course of British history. It was a time of simple slogans, big promises, and a nation on the brink of a decision that would echo for generations. The air was thick with anticipation, uncertainty, and a sense that something monumental was about to unfold. The Leave campaign swept across the country, promising a golden age, Britain free from Brussels, finally in control of its own destiny. The message was clear and seductive. Break away from the European Union and a brighter, more independent future awaited. For many, it was a call to reclaim sovereignty, to restore pride, and to take back what they felt had been lost. At the heart of the campaign was a single, unforgettable image: the red bus. Plastered on its side, a bold claim: we send the EU $350 million a week, let's fund our NHS instead. This promise was repeated in speeches, debates, and headlines, becoming the symbol of hope for millions who believed that leaving the EU would mean more money for hospitals, doctors, and nurses. The message was powerful, memorable, and, as we now know, deeply misleading. The figure was hotly contested, but in the heat of the campaign, facts often took a back seat to emotion. The red bus became a rolling billboard for change, but also for controversy. Slogans like "Take Back Control" tapped into deep frustrations and long-held hopes. They spoke to those who felt left behind by globalization, who saw the EU as a distant bureaucracy dictating their lives. The campaign gave voice to anxieties about jobs, borders, and identity. For many, it was more than just a political movement, it was a rallying cry to restore Britain's place in the world. Crowds gathered, waving flags and singing anthems, believing they were on the cusp of a new era. The energy was palpable, the sense of possibility, intoxicating. On June 23, 2016, the nation went to the polls. Streets buzzed with nervous excitement as millions cast their ballots, each vote a small act of hope or defiance. As night fell, the world watched in shock as the results rolled in. Britain had voted to leave the European Union. For some, it was a new dawn, a moment of triumph and liberation. For others, it felt like a disaster, a leap into the unknown. The country was split down the middle, families and friends divided by a single, seismic decision. The divisions ran deep, and the promises made during the campaign were now set in stone. Arguments erupted in homes, workplaces, and on the streets. The sense of unity that once defined the nation seemed to fracture overnight. Britain sailed into uncharted waters, propelled by the belief that prosperity and greatness were just ahead. The journey was symbolic, a nation setting out alone, determined to chart its own course, no matter the risks. But as the initial euphoria faded, uncertainty crept in. What happens when the promised land isn't what you expected? For many, the future seemed less certain, the path ahead more complicated than anyone had imagined. The red bus, once a beacon of hope, now sat abandoned, its bold promises fading like the campaign posters on empty streets. The slogans had captured imaginations, but the reality was proving far more complex. The slogans were simple, easy to remember, and impossible to forget. But the reality of Brexit was anything but simple. The consequences rippled through every corner of society, touching lives in ways no one could have fully predicted. The nation was divided, and remains so to this day. The debates continue, the wounds still raw, as Britain grapples with what it means to stand alone in a rapidly changing world. The Brexit dream was set in motion, but the reckoning, the true cost and meaning of that dream, was yet to come. The story of the red bus is a reminder. Promises can inspire, but they can also divide, and the journey to unity is never as simple as a slogan. Fast forward to today. The Brexit dividend is missing. The Office for Budget Responsibility says Brexit will shrink the UK's GDP by 4%. Instead of less red tape, businesses face mountains of new paperwork. Small exporters have given up on the EU market. Major companies and financial jobs have shifted to Europe. Global Britain was supposed to attract investment. Instead, capital and talent are leaving. Trade barriers have driven up prices, fueling a cost of living crisis. Sovereignty came with a price tag, visible at every checkout. Take back control of our borders, a central Brexit promise. The reality net migration has soared to record highs. Ending free movement created labor shortages, so the UK issued more work visas than ever. Immigration didn't fall, it changed, and grew. The government boasts about ending free movement while overseeing record migration. The promise of control has proven illusory. Many Leave voters feel betrayed. The economic impact is clear. Vital sectors rely on new arrivals, but supply chains and services are strained. The dream of a perfectly controlled system has crashed into reality. The national mood has shifted. Regret is in the air. Polls show a clear majority now believe Brexit was a mistake. The change is most striking in former Leave strongholds, where economic revival never came. People face higher costs, struggling businesses, and broken promises. Personal stories of regret are everywhere. The disillusionment is loud and widespread. Both major parties hope to move on, but public opinion won't let them. The mantra, "Make Brexit work," rings hollow. The political consensus is cracking under the weight of Brexit. The question of Europe is back, driven by the people, not politicians. The silence is broken, the debate is open again. Brexit was always about more than trade. It was about identity. The Leave campaign tapped into a powerful sense of British exceptionalism. Brexit was framed as reclaiming a lost identity, standing apart from Europe. But Britain's history, culture, and economy are deeply tied to the continent. Leaving the EU intensified the identity crisis. Are we global Britain or a European nation adrift? Geography is destiny. We can't move the British Isles. Young people, scientists, and artists feel the loss of European ties. Brexit promised a confident new identity. Instead, uncertainty reigns. The question remains, who are we, and where do we belong? After the referendum, Brexit means Brexit became the mantra. It was meant to end debate, but only deepen confusion. No one agreed what Brexit actually meant. Hard, soft, Norway, Canada. The slogan papered over divisions, leading to years of paralysis. The Conservative Party fractured, the public was baffled. In the end, Britain chose a hard Brexit, leaving the single market and customs union. Many didn't realize what they were voting for. The slogan delivered short-term unity, but long-term regret. Britain now stands at a historic crossroads, confronted by three possible paths forward, each one fraught with its own set of challenges and uncertainties. The choices ahead are not just difficult, they are defining, and none offer an easy escape from the dilemmas of the present. The first path is to muddle through, essentially, to stick with the current deal and hope for gradual improvement. This means accepting a period of low economic growth, diminished global influence, and a sense of national frustration. The country would continue to grapple with the consequences of Brexit, while businesses and communities feel the pinch of stagnation and uncertainty. The second option is to seek a closer relationship with the European Union. This could mean rejoining the single market or the customs union, which might help boost the economy and ease trade barriers. However, it would also require Britain to follow many EU rules and regulations, without having a direct say in shaping them. The trade-off here is clear: economic benefits in exchange for a loss of some sovereignty and control. The third and most ambitious path is to fully rejoin the EU. This would be a long and arduous process, with no guarantee of special treatment. Britain would likely have to adopt the euro, join the Schengen area, and accept deeper integration than before. The process would be politically divisive and require a national reckoning with the meaning of European identity. Each of these paths comes with tough, unavoidable trade-offs. Muddling through risks years of stagnation, with the economy and public services under strain, and a sense of drift settling over the nation. Moving closer to the EU means accepting rules made in Brussels with little British input, and facing the political backlash from those who see this as a betrayal of Brexit's promise. Rejoining the EU would mean not just returning to the status quo, but embracing even more integration than before, something that would require a major shift in public opinion and political will. The era of simple slogans and easy answers is over. The choices now are complex, nuanced, and demand honest debate. Every option is complicated, costly, and politically explosive. The nation is deeply divided, and whichever path is chosen will provoke fierce arguments and passionate protests. The debate has shifted. It's no longer about whether Brexit was right or wrong, but about how Britain should move forward from here. The question now is, what kind of country does Britain want to be in the decades ahead? The crossroads is real, and the stakes could not be higher. The decisions made in the coming years will shape the nation's economy, its place in the world, and the lives of millions. The next move will define Britain for a generation, determining not just its relationship with Europe, but its identity, prosperity, and future on the global stage. The Brexit journey began with a simple promise. Now, the costs are clear. The debate isn't about whether Brexit hurt Britain. The evidence is overwhelming. The real question: what now? Muddling through, seeking closer ties, or rejoining all come with sacrifices. Rejoining would mean tough negotiations and accepting new rules. The political battle would be fierce, reopening old wounds. The price of going back could rival the price of staying out. Britain stands at a crossroads. What price are we willing to pay for our future?